In the last video, we talked about finding the volume of prisms, and that was the area of the base times the height. In this video, we're going to talk about volumes of cylinders, which are very similar to prisms, except for the fact that they have a circular base. So we're still going to use the same formula, but we're just going to modify it to apply to circles. So you can see here, we're going to use our volume formula of prisms, where area of the base times height, but the base is always a circle. So we found out how to find the area of a circle a while ago, and that is pi r squared. So we're just going to replace our big B with pi r squared and get our formula for the volume of a circle. So the volume of a the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times height. So let's apply that to these two examples here. Looking at the one on the left, the volume of this cylinder is going to be pi times the radius, which is 6.1 feet squared, times the height. Now remember, the height is not always up and down, it's the distance between the bases, and that would be 12. So when we make this calculation, I'm going to do all my calculations before I multiply by pi. That's always a good rule of thumb to follow, is to multiply by pi last. So if you take 6.1 squared and multiply that by 12, you get 446.52 times pi. And then I can go ahead and multiply that by pi and round to the nearest tenth. As always, when dealing with pi, we get those irrational numbers, and you get 1,402.8, and the correct label here for volume, cubic feet. The next cylinder, we're given the diameter, and remember, we cannot use the diameter when we're finding the area of a circle, so we have to use the radius. So the radius will be half of 11.4, which is 5.7 meters. We're going to use that as our radius. So the volume will be pi times 5.7 squared times the height, which is 5. And again, I'm going to do all of this multiplication here first before multiplying by pi, and you get 162.45 times pi. Finally, do the calculation and round to the nearest tenth. The volume of this cylinder is 510.4 cubic meters. So now we can see how to find the volume of a cylinder, whether we're given the radius or given the diameter. And finally, we're going to look at a composite shape here. Here we have a what looks like a Lego, but a very large Lego block if you look at the dimensions. And this consists of two cylinders that are identical and one prism. So we're going to find the volumes of each one of these separately and then add them together at the end. So the volume of our cylinder is going to be pi r squared times the height, and the radius of each one of these cylinders is 1.5 inches. So it's going to be pi times 1.5 squared times the height, which is just 1. And then I'm going to multiply this by 2, since there's two of them. So I'm just going to double that volume, so then I can get the volume of both of my prisms together. And again, I'm going to do all this multiplication first before I go ahead and multiply by pi. And then if you do that calculation, you get 4.5 times pi. Lovely. And that is rounded to the nearest tenth, 14.1 cubic inches. And then for the prism, recall volume of a prism is area of the base times height, or length times width times height. 5 times 12 times 4 gives us a volume of 240 cubic inches. And then we just simply need to add these two together to get our total volume of 254. I don't know why it keeps doing that. That's annoying. 54.1 cubic inches total volume. So we can use the volume of cylinders now to find the total volume of composite figures.